Hey all, this is Matteo and Mike from Anything Scout. Today's tech tip is going to be about our brand new battery cables for LS conversions. We have these brand new Anything Scout battery cables for LS conversions. The starter wire is a 2-gauge wire, extremely thick. Our alternator wire is a 4-gauge wire. And then we also have an accessory maxi fuse holder coming off here. We use it for amps. You can use it for pretty much whatever you need to fuse. We do a side post. Some people wonder why we do a side post is because we do winches on some of our builds. So we use the top post, a side top post, and the top post is for the winch and the side post are for the vehicle. So we do it in a side post. That's the way we like. Turns out really well for us. Negative cable, it's pretty simple. It's also a 2-gauge side post, goes down to the block. And then we have this 8-gauge wire that goes right to the battery tray bracket underneath the battery. So pretty lickety split with this install. We'll show you how to do it. Okay, I've got Matteo under the truck. I'm gonna feed the starter wire down right behind the power steering pump. He's going to now route the starter cable around the front of the oil pan. He will use some P-clamps here after he gets it situated to hold the starter wire to the oil pan so it won't get in the way of the crank pulley and be secure. Nice thing about our kit here is it has covering over the battery cables. So it kind of makes it look a little bit nicer, a little neater. Also, anything rubs up against the cable, it won't rub through the insulation. This would be really good for anybody doing the LS conversions. Instead of having cables made or you having to make cables, we just ended up making a set of cables and have them in production now. Once he snugs up, the front 2 clamps slide around to the passenger side of the engine. We'll add another clamp. I like to keep the battery cables secure, like I said, so they don't rub up against anything or catch on anything. Now here, we're going to install the battery cable to the starter now. We come in from behind and it has a nice 90-degree terminal to attach to the big lug of the starter solenoid, just like that. And then you can re-add the wires later. So we routed the starter cable from the battery down behind the power steering pump to the corner of the left front corner of the oil pan, which we used. There's a threaded hole that's not being used that we thread a P-clamp to hold it secure next to the engine. And we route it in front of the oil pan to the other right front corner and do the same thing. Then we follow down the left, or the right side, excuse me, of the engine block, and there's another unused tapped hole that we use a P-clamp to secure this cable, because this cable goes a long ways, and we just want to make sure it doesn't dangle down and catch on anything or get caught up in the crank pulley. Then we go wrap around the back side of the starter to the solenoid. So that's how the starter cable is routed. All right. Now that we've got the starter cable hooked up, we will go ahead and hook up the alternator cable. So we came down with the starter cable and kind of followed the movement, the fluid motion of our power steering lines. We're going to do the same thing with our alternator cable, so it all looks nice and tidy. And this is the alternator wire, just loops down there, and we will put that on. And again, this flows all the way down here, all nice and pretty and neat. Now this is, remember we had this fused piece of cable here that can be used for, we use it for amps, for our sound systems. If you do not use it, you can simply just cap it off and it'll sit here. And you can lay that in just like that. When we're all said and done here, we'll take and we can use zip ties to secure these cables together to keep them all in one spot, nice and neat. Next, we're going to install the negative cable. Negative cable is going to go to the main one, to the engine block on the left side of the engine here. Matteo's underneath, and I'll hand that down to him in a minute. And this one, this 8 gauge with the ring terminal, will go to the battery tray bracket right back here. So I'm going to first feed this down to Matteo, and he will get the bottom secured. We're not going to hook it up to the battery yet. This is just he's bolting the negative battery cable to the engine block itself. There's a already threaded hole in the side of an LS engine on the left front side of the motor. That is a perfect spot to secure a ground to. So that's going to be your main ground to the engine. All right, now I'm going to hook up this 8 gauge wire that will come from the battery, and it'll go straight to the body. Again, I like using a star washer against the metal of the body, so it'll scratch into it and make a good ground. So I'm going to put my bolt through my eyelet, my star washer, and then I'm going to go and hopefully successfully screw this into the battery cable, or the battery tray bracket bottom bolt. Make sure your grounds on your body are tight so you don't have any electrical issues, because a bad ground will make you have a bad day for sure. All right, I am not ready. This vehicle is not ready to have a ground hooked up to it yet because we have a lot of bare wires. So I'm not going to hook it up, but I have a cap on it, and this is how it'll be. Looks pretty good. And now we have all of our cables running in the same direction. Looks pretty tight. Again, I just take some zip ties and go around. Got these to keep them together. And there we go. Clip the tails off. All right. There we have it. We have our brand new LS conversion battery cable kit installed on this now. It's a time saver. You don't have to make cables, and it's brand new. I mean, it just came out just like a couple weeks ago. So get online and get you some. This is Matteo. It's Mike from Anything Scout. Catch us next time.